Okay, everyone, we are live. We've got Aubrey and Mac with us here tonight. They are still getting a little setup done off in the background. So, for all the viewers out there, tonight is going to be a little bit of an interesting episode. We are going to talk about some of Kirtaner's past, the future, what that looks like, some current ongoing grudges that need to just go away, and some general ideas around, our views on activism and what we do with people who have decided to change their ways and fight the good fight at this point, how we accept them or don't in our communities. So that is where we're going with this one tonight. And we will get started as soon as Kurt's computer is no longer on fire, which is where we sit for the moment. All right. So what we and you guys are going to see and ta-da! You can see this wonderful blue blob over there is actually Kirtaner. He's actually an AI. No, seriously. He'll be here in just a second. So, yes. Hello, everyone in chat. I hope everyone is ready for this one. It will be one that gets some people very angry because they just hold on to grudges, and it will be one that I hopefully makes other people happy. We will have to see about that one. But let's turn the audio on here for Mac and good old Aubrey. So they are both here on audio, and good old Kurt there. Aubrey will be here in a second on video.
Yep, I'm almost good here. Let's see.
We're going to need someone to send him like a high-end gaming computer or something. Anyone out there with money? So he doesn't have to close a bunch of stuff. All right.
Or so he can have more things open that he has to close when he gets to
yes, because that's what we all do, really, right? We all get powerful machines, and then I go from 10 tabs open to 100 because, that's just... I can't close that one. I need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I used to make a game of just how long I could go without actually closing a tab on Chrome. I think my record is 126 gigs of committed memory.
That's not okay. you have a problem.
Are you counting suspended tabs or?
Yeah.
Oh no. I've actually with the great suspender on my laptop, I've actually gotten it to even that hit about 40 gigs commit usage.
All right.
I'm a monster.
Yes. You're a monster without video.
My video's coming.
All right, chat. While we wait for video so we can see his wonderful facial expressions during tonight's excruciating interview. Yes. Oh, it's him, and he's on the other side of the screen now. All right. So... how is it going, Kurt? Last few days have been more interesting than the week before.
Oh, absolutely. We got a lot going on. We got some email leaks. We got the big Parler hack, and we have a lot of people that seem to be very angry at me for some old things that I may have done when I was younger, and I very much regret now.
Yeah. And in that regard, we have Zoom deciding to go a little crazy on us now that I brought you back in. Because why not, right?
Yep.
I will get this whole streaming thing figured out one of these years, But as you can see, I can fix it. It's one of those miracles of modern technology. All right, so you've got leaks. You've got groups or companies like Business Insider actually starting to write about them. You've got tons of people claiming that they are fake or that this is some kind of a government op. All right, so for those not in the know, the guy down in the bottom left is Mac, and Mac has been with us for a long time, just maybe not as public as anyone else, but he's been hiding out there in the background in terms of all of our fun, doing his thing. But he's also been on my show for a while. Before the Twitch show, he was actually the co-host on my podcast that we ran for a couple years way back. So that's Mac. He's here to I don't know, add some intelligence to the stream, as I'm a complete moron. Yeah, so here we go. We've got Kurt and we've got Mac, and there are all kinds of fun issues that have arisen in the last week. Which all revolve around a cabal of people who have decided that you are still the devil. I won't say they have decided you are the devil, because at one point you might have been.
Oh, absolutely.
But at this point, they have decided you still are. And this is all related to your past, to the internet hate machine, to ops you used to run, to the websites and content they used to have that some you still run, some you don't anymore. Just all kinds of fun stuff that is in your past. And at this point, what we're looking at is a new Kirtaner, supposedly, according to you. A guy who has been through, a guy who has been through years of coming to an agreement kind of with himself of what side of this fight he should be on, and then realizing that it's time to be public, and time to start fighting, and time to do what's right, and maybe apologize for past ways. Like, how do you want to word that to the public?
Well, I mean, you pretty much hit every single point. So thank you. Thank you.
Greg just did this one.
Yeah, Greg just did my apology for me. Thank you. I'm a good boy now. But no, really. 13 years. Yeah, 13 years is a long time. It's a long fucking time. If you were to take a look at any person that was 19, 20 years old, and then take a look at the person that they are when they are 33, how many of those are going to be the same person? Like, how many people do you know have not had dramatic change in just like fundamentally who they are as a person over the course of their adolescence and later adulthood?
In chat, they're saying you made a mistake with the post on the site. An extra H for the channel.
Oh shit! Okay, gotcha. My H key is screwy and double Hing.
Nice.
So there we go. There, I fixed it.
I mean, have you been typing H twice a little too often? Because that would speak for your detractors.
Oh jeez, yeah. Oh no. Oh, I didn't even put that one together.
Yeah, I am here to be that guy tonight.
Yeah, I actually can't recite the 14 words because I can't remember that shit because I don't want to.
Right. All right. So you were talking about, you've changed over a long period of time, and you're not the same guy after that amount of time, and nobody is.
No. I also saw very intimately being I have such a vantage point on the internet and the health of the internet and meme culture and stuff as a whole as being an image board operator. So I've been here. I've been watching all of this horrible shit just completely it just spread like a cancerous tumor. That's casual racism. That's like the super edgy humor that we would always say, oh, we're just doing it ironically. But the big problem that we didn't realize at the time is when you're an ironic asshole and you're saying Hitler did nothing wrong, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to run through every single standard racist ass bit of humor. You get my point. Something that a lot of us figured out is that irony begets reality. And by the time we realized that we were actually being a whole bunch of jokesters, just being provocative with our humor because, we didn't actually think these days, we were attracting people that actually thought that we were being legitimate with that kind of humor. The moment I had that realization and realized that that things were going in the direction of Donald Trump. Back probably around 2014 is when I really had my wake up moment and realized that, you know, this shit has gone too far. There's a number of events around 2014 that involve people that I was friends with as well, and I'm not going to go into them. I'm talking about myself and how I've changed, be that as it may. And I'm no longer that person whatsoever. I made a conscious effort to change and stop being that hyper edgelord type because I saw the damage that it had done. And I've been a large proponent of various so-called free speech spaces, like my other image board kin. I have always been a loud proponent of being more clamped down in the moderation of them. That doesn't make me a popular person in my scene in general, but it also means that the really cool people are over in my scene, or on my boards, I should say. It's a little refuge. And we're all like-minded, and we're all sick of the garbage that we ended up promoting online. It's been this self-reinforcing bubble of just people that have grown up on the internet and want to do good by it, where we've made a lot of mistakes. I don't know what else I can say that can expand more on what I already have, but like I have made a lot of fucked up decisions a long time ago, and I apologize to everyone that has ever been affected by my bullshit. And I mean that. All I can do now is my best.
That's it. And we run into this situation which you started to describe there that the chat is also kind of touching on. It's how I've described it to a bunch of people who want to point at the Chan culture and say, well, a lot of the alt-right came out of that. And when you look at like /poll and whatnot, you know, it's true. A lot of it did come out of that stuff. The big problem that really happened, and the way I've always described it to people, is that a lot of racist jokes are being told, and a lot of, even worse than that, like gore was being posted, just everything you can imagine that would upset people who weren't ready for it. And the goal was to, 1, be edgy, 2, actually convince them to leave, because you didn't want the people who couldn't stand it to stay. And with all of that going on, you run into this really interesting situation where you've got an environment where a true racist, a real bad human being, someone who possibly is a Nazi, possibly is a Klan member, whatever, will show up and he'll see all of that and not get the joke. And the joke is horrible. It's in the worst taste possible. It shouldn't have been made in the first place. But there we are with an environment that they now feel comfortable in. And so they stay around. And then they invite their friends. And they start, you know, what you think initially is joking with you. But you soon realize, wait, the real racists have shown up. And by the end of this, there's the old people who were joking leave. Because they're
sick of it.
They're sick of it.
They're just completely and utterly sick of it. That's a form of weaponization of the First Amendment, realistically.
Yeah, and so there they are, the people who were joking, as wrong as we now know that to be, you know, and everyone involved, you know, has apologized, that I'm now still friends with. We did also end up with a few people who went your way, right? They go your way, and they end up with a few years of kind of what, you know, the world sees as downtime, because publicly no one heard, you know, from you. You weren't really that loud. No one is, you know, hearing about this guy. And then suddenly, here you are wanting to fight the good fight. On the opposite side of that, we end up with a human being like Weave, who came out of this same culture, and instead of deciding to use his skills and powers for, you know, good at this point, I think personally, that's my personal opinion of where you're going with this, his choice was to help start the Daily Stormer and run the Daily Stormer with Andrew Anglin, and to go full Nazi and get a swastika tattoo. And I mean, just really, he went to the far opposite end and stayed there. It wasn't a joke for him anymore. And who knows, it might never have been. But early on, it really did seem like he was just like the rest of you.
Yeah, Weave would probably be right now, if there was a scale, I would be one end of it and Weave would be the other end of it.
Yeah.
That's basically as much as I'm going to say about it.
Well, sure, and I'm not expecting you to go too far into that. I mean, I'll
And
touch
yes,
on a few
we
things.
are old friends. And realistically speaking, any who's who on the internet for a very long time. It doesn't matter where the hell you came from. If you were somebody that was doing shit on the internet for a long time, there is no chance in hell that you have not had some encounter with Weave. It's impossible. So if you're going to tar and feather somebody because, oh, hey, they know who Weave is, or hey, they have had conversations with them, you're going to have to condemn like probably 50% of the internet as it stands right now. So don't even use that as a point.
It's one that people like to touch on without admitting their own fallibility.
Yes,
there. You know,
exactly.
The first time I met him, I was on Party Van IRC. And I'm sitting there and we're working on the Chanology stuff. And one of the admins of the IRC decided that since he's friends with him, even though we had an invite-only channel where Marble Cake, where we were organizing things, he would just let Weave into the channel. And so he joined Weave into our channel, where Weave attempted to explain to us that we should firebomb buildings and wanted to teach us how. We, of course, asked the admins to please remove this man. But, you know, he spent a good hour yelling and screaming that we were doing everything wrong in Chanology and that people needed to die. And we wanted nothing to do with that. We were like, no, this is
I'm not laughing.
We weren't even like activists at this point, let alone like, I mean, in his eyes, domestic terrorists, right? We were just like kids having fun with a cult because it was hilarious. And he shows up asking us to firebomb things. And I'm like, dear Lord, who is this man? And of course, you then find out about the GNAA. You find out about all his other friends. You find out that there's this whole underpinning of him swearing up and down that he's not a Nazi, that he's not a white supremacist, but that he does all the stuff he does for free speech. And then with that argument, he gets in serious trouble over something that he probably shouldn't have actually gotten in that much trouble for. And a lot of internet celebrity types, you know, people who've been around a long time, rally around his cause. He gets lots of donations for his legal defense fund. He gets a lawyer to back him, the same lawyer who now works for Clearview AI, Tor Eklund, starts, supporting him. And he gets out of jail, and, you know, very quickly everyone realizes he was never joking about this. He's got a swastika tattoo now. This guy is legit bad. And everyone had to reassess their idea of who this person was at that point. And of course, he then leaves the country on a jet for another country, and then in that country, he gets run out of it and run out of the next one and ends up, I think, in Moldova and Ukraine and Russia kind of randomly for the last few years, while helping to run the Daily Stormer. So on his end, he's actually been chased out of almost every circle and is now hiding out with the Nazis. And has a
He's
website,
even been chased out of countries.
Literally chased out of countries. And now, so he went that way, far end of it. And then here you are, who were still, I would say, even years ago, before 2014, kind of sitting in that middle ground where you had done a lot of the early stuff, but you weren't going to go that way. And you make up your mind.
I saw what was left in my wake, and I changed my behavior based on that, really.
So there you are. You decided that you were going to start doing what you felt was good to fix some of your stuff. It's almost like making amends for what you'd done. You couldn't really fix past transgressions in that they had already been done. These people had already suffered whatever they suffered, but you could work going forward. What was your plan there other than just, this is who I am now? Did you honestly think that part out, or?
I did. Like, I went into this expecting to just go and try to actually make an impact, because I really couldn't live with myself otherwise anymore. Period.
I mean, obviously, I can tell that this one in this whole subject really does get to you, because you're usually a lot more talky. You usually, you go on forever, which is, great, but you're really thinking these things through, which is important here, because you have, at this point, a group of detractors who all have a lot of friends and followers themselves. And and they're all other hacker crews, other anti-fascist crews. Some of them could be something else, but I've seen no proof of anything other than that. But what we do know is that we sit here on a side of a battle right now. There are Nazis and far-right groups, from the literal Nazis to the sort of Nazis like the Proud Boys, to just, straight white supremacists who don't care about any of the, like, Norse mythology or anything else, to just, there's all these groups, but they're all working together now. And then there's this side, which is working against them. And for some reason, people on this side have decided to attack you and waste energy and time coming after you that should be spent attacking the real enemy, I think. That's my personal take on it.
That's an accurate take. Like all it's just doing is just slowing progress down, and like just knock it off. Just like I said what I needed to say. I'm sorry. I legitimately empathize with all of my former victims, and in the future, if there's anything that I can do to say assist the Epilepsy Foundation, I will gladly do so. Okay, like straight up, I'm not that guy. Period. That guy is dead.
Thanks, Doxy, for the gifts in the chat there. I appreciate it. So there's this argument to be had about whether people go so far as to be completely beyond redemption, right? That irredeemable, factor where on the left, you're going to have to write them off and say, even if they change their ways, we just can't talk to that person anymore. And I would say someone like a literal Hitler has definitely earned death. But there's got to be a ground where people who have made these types of mistakes and had these ideologies have a place to go where they are able to fight against their former selves, if you will. And use their skill sets to really clean up some of the mess they helped create. Like, if we don't provide that space, then what are we providing for people who we're trying to pull out of the alt-right? What we're providing is nothing. We are saying you are going to lose every friend you have, possibly jobs, because any job that still has one of them hired, the boss is probably one of them. So you're looking at losing everything. You're looking at losing everything by coming to this side from that side. And then this side says, we don't want you either. So what we've done is we've created an environment where they don't leave their side of the fight because there's nothing over here for them. And we need to
cancel
make sure
culture.
I think some people deserve cancellation. There are definitely some people who have earned it. I think, let's throw out a good example from today. Kevin Hart said that, on a talk with Ed Lover today, that black people tear black people apart and destroy black people. And his example of a black person who other black people tore apart was Bill Cosby. And I gotta say, no, he earned his cancellation.
How
do you say that out loud?
Wait. What do we even say?
Like, there are people who have just earned this, right? And Bill Cosby fucking earned it.
This is like vibes of when Richard Stallman tried to make excuses for Epstein.
Well, I mean, Stallman has all kinds of other issues. If anyone ever wants to argue with me about Stallman, I hate him on such a level that it's pure and it's to my core, and I have since the early 90s. But in 2003, he really solidified it by getting into an argument on IRC with someone about whether possession of child pornography was actually a problem, in that just possessing it shouldn't be a chargeable offense, and instead, only the people who produced it were the problem, and that possession of it did not help create a market. And so he posted on his website, on the Stallman.org website, a post claiming that people should not get prosecuted for possession of child pornography. It's still there. You can Google it. It's still there. He won't take it down no matter how many people complain that he's fucking, supportive of them. That's Richard Stallman, and he's always actually been that guy. It's horrible. But that's off topic. There's all kinds of horrible people out there, but they've earned their cancellation by a few simple things. And I think one of the keys for me is you've done what you've done. You haven't right afterward then been loud about maybe I made a mistake. No, you went introspective. You thought. And on the other side of that thought, you decided what you had done wrong. You apologized. You're working hard to make amends. Now, people like, say, a Bill Cosby, their response is, I didn't do it. I didn't do anything bad. It wasn't as bad as you say. Their defense of their former selves is only additional, damage. Now, there was nothing he could have done. I mean, I don't know what Kevin Hart was thinking today saying that, but there was nothing he could have done to redeem himself. You, on the other hand, I think, had a shot at it and are doing your best. And I want to make sure that the other activists out there on our side have an understanding of the simple fact that if you don't allow people like Kurt to come from a side where he was doing things that you hated and start to work on projects that you now think should be done, like, say, against Parler, against QAnon, against the far right, then you aren't leaving space for people like him to quit that side, and they'll stay there and keep working with those people, because humans are social creatures, and if you don't leave them a way to have friends and interactions and self-worth, then they're gonna stay with the people who are giving them those things. So for me, it's important to have these conversations with Kurt about what's going on, and especially this one. How do you feel beyond, that one little group? I mean, do you feel like people are mostly accepting at this point, or do you think it's a general F that guy, or like where do we stand?
There are specific people that are known in the community for being very, very invested into anti-fascist or communist or anarchist movements that are taking a look at me, taking a look at how I am, my old associations, and just assuming that, oh, obviously this guy is here to infiltrate. This is some kind of weird influence op, and y'all are dumb for not shutting him out. No, that's you infiltrating?
You're in like 2 extra chats that you weren't in like months ago. I mean, like, at most, like, right? I mean, you've invited some people into some other, like, private things where you're going over new data from breaches and shit, but, like, that's not infiltrating, that's creating. Like,
exactly. Like, I'm creating, people are working with me, and other people that don't think that I'm sincere or think that I'm a double agent are trying to knock down those supports that I've managed to build up. And that is not okay. Once I give you a reason to distrust me, go for it. Like seriously, don't sit on 13, like anywhere from 6 to 13-year-old drama that is completely irrelevant. Like, don't do that. Just give me a goddamn chance, for God's sake. Trying to do some serious shit here.
And he's getting shit done. I mean, there are news articles literally with other researchers who aren't him going over the data saying, no, there's exposed S3 buckets. There's all this other stuff. The interesting piece about the WordPress hack, which was just old files that, they're not really on that system anymore for Parler, and that getting kind of denied by all of them, rightfully so, in that it was just old files from an old install of an old system. Was funny because they all got to yell and scream, nothing got breached, and then of course the actual breach comes out, and it's sort of interesting there. But I would say a few things to people like that who have that mindset. Kurt's dealings, whatever he does, whoever chooses to work with him, if you, especially those people who are mad at him, and I would say this about me, but I would also say it generally about anyone in terms of OPSEC, if you for any reason question someone, don't then go and do illegal things with them. Don't organize, don't work on deep security research that might lead you to pre-knowledge of events where the law might care. Like, for me especially, I am so public at this point that if you were planning a specific hack against a specific target on a specific day, and then you come and talk to me about it beforehand, that's really dumb of you. It has nothing to do with whether you believe I inform or whether you believe the feds are just watching everything I do or anything. Standard OPSEC. Don't tell me I'm too public already. I am being watched from every angle possible. Like, it shouldn't matter those other things. You should already be doing this stuff to protect yourself. Like, ugh. Like, just have proper OPSEC, and your fears of Kurt wouldn't really matter too terribly much. There's a whole other episode to be had on OPSEC and the things you can do to keep yourself private when you're doing things that the law might care about. And we can have that episode. That's a whole other talk. But, you know, for this one, there are a lot of people in your wake. And it's mostly not them who are coming out being mad at you. It's people with hacker style, unrelated to your past actions, grudges who are attempting to use your past actions against you to kind of discredit you with media who are reporting on your work.
Yes.
If I'm reading it right, like
you are.
We haven't actually had this discussion, just for everyone in the chat and watching. Like I'm watching this as everyone else is unfold on Twitter and in the news. But that's my take on it. Like, yeah.
That is an accurate take. I splash onto the scene all of a sudden, and there are a lot of groups that are like, who the fuck is this guy? Which is understandable. I mean, it's not often you see somebody just come like August. My identity was revealed to the world, and in a short period of months, I'm already doing high profile hacks in the media and so on and so forth. And obviously, that's going to make a lot of people question me. You know, is there somebody signing his checks? I'm very fucking poor, by the way. So no, nobody's signing my fucking checks.
That's why I was thanking Doxy so much for the gifted subs earlier. Like, that's literally my dinner tomorrow. Like, you have no idea. We do not get Soros checks, unlike all those people on the right who are actually getting paid by, like, the Heartland Foundation and all that. We aren't. It would be wonderful. But there we are. So there's these groups, and they're out there, and they're doing their thing, and they think I'm sus. Well, hey, everything that you just said could make you very sus, like, right? But
exactly,
that's just the world you're going to have to live with. And for me, when I first saw this starting to happen to you, I actually came to you and said, hey, learn to ignore these fools. To which you responded, that's not my MO.
No, it ain't. I'm gonna call him the fuck out and be like, this is my perspective, and this is what I see that you're doing, and shut the fuck up and leave me alone.
Yeah, you definitely have a way about you that is always attacking, which is why I wanted to have you on for a stronger version of that apology, which I know you mean.
Yes.
Because, you know, when you talk on Twitter, it's very short on words, and so I
pack in a lot of impact as much as I can into those characters. A lot of big, nasty sounding words, so on and so forth. I'm no bullshit. I don't got time for that.
But your versions of apologies on Twitter are, I'm sorry, but fuck you. And
yes.
That's your attitude, right? And that's fine. That's a totally legit way to be. But there's also that need for an understanding of what you're apologizing for, why you're apologizing, why you've ended up on this side. And
I mean, shit, about 15 minutes ago, I was talking, I almost broke out crying, okay? If you go back and watch it, you can probably see that my voice started getting shaky and stuff. Like, it actually affects me in a very real way.
I mean, that is PTSD, quite honestly. You know what you did, and it is now part of you.
Yes.
And also, a lot of stuff was done to you just because of the crowd you were around. I mean, it was just...
it was a lot of shit.
I got into that crowd a little early on, and that was just due to trying to work on all the anonymous stuff I was working on at the time, and... I was only in the /I channels and hanging out on 420, or even like not even like 8 but like 7chan, even like some of the like more obscure ones at the time, for a very short time before I just went back to /B and said those aren't for me. I mean, sure, it was like a year, but like, you know, some of you guys not only running it but just survived many years of that shit, and I was like, you know, I get it, but at the same time, I just don't actually need this in my life. You guys, the negativity was so hardcore and so like part of who everyone's identity was there. It was harsh.
Yeah, like you would join IRC in the midst of just people flooding ASCII penises and just like, just like it would just be walls of dicks, you know, that's on a good day.
It is. So You know, I wanted to kind of take really the whole first hour here to go over a lot of this stuff and then maybe talk about some of the future stuff that's going on.
Oh, first, we got a highlight message over here.
Yes,
Can you?
I read it. I read it.
Yeah.
You know, just don't get me demonetized on YouTube. That's all I'm asking. I mean, I made a whole 8 cents last week.
Ooh. Fuck you, Andy. No, you fucking disinfo spreading shitbag. I hope that I am personally responsible for getting your ass blackballed from every single platform that I can.
Andy, no. Charlie Kirk.
Also, we have a whole
Shapiro.
truckload of milkshakes for you.
Yes.
Yes.
There is a list of people like them that need to be dealt with. Take dealt with to mean whatever you want, but they need to be dealt with. I personally was a fan of the lie of the milkshake that Andy No told, and was unhappy.
It gave me brain damage.
I was unhappy to find out it was a lie and a scam and a grift to make money like he used it for, and to get a little more famous and make it on Fox News and all that. But then I was not surprised by it at all, because that's who he is. I mean, him and Ian Michaels Chong and Miles. There's like a list of like 20 of these fuckers who, I mean, there's a list of 1,000, but like there's like 20 that have learned how to do it right on the internet in a way where they're building big audiences, and they need to be dealt with at some point. So maybe they're on the list for you next.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Jack Posobiec, Louise Mensch, all of them. Yeah. I don't care who you are. You're in my sights.
Good times. But you know, that leads us to, again, back to that argument about who accepts you on this side and who doesn't.
Tim Pool is a big one. Thank you, chat.
Chat is definitely got their opinions on all kinds of people over here. I'm loving it. You'll see it go through on the YouTube and on the stream there. So, you know, what's interesting about some of these people...
Not seeing any names I disagree with on that list.
What's interesting about some of these people that are being named here is these are people who were occupiers. These are people who were around Anonymous early. At least one person who has been brought up so far actually had tweet access to URNon News for over a year. One of those names in the chat there. I'm not going to say which because, you know, I'm just not going to do that. But that's the level of they were kind of with us and they went that way. And Kurt wasn't with us, although he wasn't with them either. And
I was watching from the sidelines and having PTSD.
And he came over here. Yeah, exactly. So I want to say to everyone watching, you know, if you've got a problem with him and you think that his reappearance out of nowhere is somehow related to, I don't care what you want to, what kind of crazy QAnon level theory you want to come up with, that it's actually Biela running him, that it's the FBI running him, that it's 20 other governments' version of their FBI running him, like the Canadian, what, the CSC or something, or what like all of them, like, right? Like, just, sure, have your theories. I don't care. I get to ignore all of that, and I think he should too.
I just find them funny.
But those should all be irrelevant to how you work on your own OPSEC. If your problem is that you think you might get like in trouble being around an op that he's somehow involved in, then don't get involved in the op and tell other people that you have these fears. They get to make their own decisions. But you don't have to like just slow down the progress. Things are happening that are good. Like
nobody around me has ever so much as gotten a knock on a door. My track record is solid there. I don't even understand why people worry about me that much.
I mean, I think it's honestly people with old grudges just trying to come at you. But what I want to just be clear on is, again, like if you're practicing proper OPSEC, if you are working hard to keep yourself secure and your actions secure, it shouldn't matter. I mean, just to be quite clear, like you should be able to keep yourself secure. And we can do OPSEC, you know, episode again. I'll mention like we could bring you on and a couple other people and do like a 4-person panel teaching people, here's how you create an actually secure laptop that never lives in your home. Here's the OS it should be running, and so on and so on and so on. Like
yes.
there's a million steps, but
many of us have been high-tech lowlifes for a very long time.
Yes, like I have my laptop that does not live at my home for things that I just don't want to ever do on my own keyboard. And, you know, it's just one of those things. You do it when you want OPSEC, and otherwise you're putting yourself at risk at all times. It doesn't even matter where you are. Look at, like, Telegram.
Not just yourself. You're putting yourself and everybody that you know and work with at risk.
Exactly. So, again, do your own work on your own OPSEC, right? It's just, that's the important message there for me anyways. So now we're on the other side of all of that. People are just going to be people. They're going to be haters. And for me, the comedian Cat Williams got that one so right in his little bit. If anyone wants to Google Cat Williams haters, you'll see it on YouTube. It's like a 2-minute clip. And he explains to the audience that haters are going to hate. It's all they do. It's their livelihood. It's who they are. It's at their core. You're not changing them. You're not going to somehow magically convince them not to be who they are anymore. So instead, just accept that they exist, and then accept that you only get haters when you're doing shit that's important. They only come around when you are noticeable. And so collect them. And the more you have, the better you're doing. So to all of my haters out there, I love you. I do. I just, it's from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. But everyone should go watch that little video clip. It's hilarious.
Yes.
So, you know, at the other end of this, where we are is there's some data supposedly, possibly from Parler, possibly other companies. You know, we're not 100% sure at the very beginning, but we know Parler data's there. We know Washington Examiner's data there. And you go and you bring in some other security researchers out there, people who have published, to actually go over this and starts to figure out what's going on. And these same people kind of come back out of the woodwork trying to stop places like Business Insider and others from publishing what you've got to say. And people who did work with you, including a tweet that just went out like an hour or so ago, a whole thread a guy posted about, I saw the data, I responded to requests from Business Insider. You know, he did this whole thing saying, please don't bother me, I'm not Kurt. If you want the data, talk to him. If you're mad that I worked with him, oh well.
Which is how it should be.
It should be, but, you know, all these people got basically attacked for even talking to you. That doesn't help. No matter what the
do you want me to just go full black hat and just like go and dump these databases online like the old days? No, do you want me to do some actual proper disclosure and ethical work? Yes, then shut the fuck up and let me do my work.
Seriously. And that's where I kind of land. I honestly, on a personal level here, have been asked multiple times now why I accepted Kurt, you know, in the way that I did early, when I was just like, finally, here's the guy, he's back. A lot of the things he has to apologize for happened in my general direction. From the past. When he apologizes for the one that, you know, I think he says he apologizes for kind of the strongest, the Epilepsy Foundation, part of that operation was during a time period when I did something on the order of 400 interviews in 2 months. And while I'm in the middle of this, him and friends go and do something to make Anonymous look like the most evil people in the world in an effort to really ruin my goddamn life while I was trying to have, you know, this moment for Chinology to fight Scientology because I wanted to destroy this cult. And
it's multifaceted. It's not as plain as that, but on its face, that was your perspective.
Exactly. I'm on this
side. York is giving us a good name. Stop it.
Yeah. Exactly. But that was on our side what we saw. And so on our side, we're sitting there like it's Anonymous attacking Anonymous, which we were used to. You know, the joke back then was Anonymous's worst enemy. And I think to this day it still kind of is, which, you know, you're seeing some of at this point with people just kind of being assholes. But one of the things that, you know, that I took when you came back, when we first talked was, you know, I asked you outright, you know, are you kind of sorry for some of the stuff you had done? I asked for your version of why you showed back up. And to me, I believed what you had to say about actually wanting to get some shit done. And for all that has happened in the last, you know, let's call it 5 or 6 years, less on the security related research needed against the alt-right has gone public than I would like. and you came in wanting to specifically go at these people, at Parler, at Q, at all these other people, and you know, at the end, there's that whole enemy of my enemy might be my friend, might still be my enemy, who knows kind of an argument, and I think it's all bullshit. At this point, I think you mean it. I think you apologized. I think you are specifically fighting the fight that I want to see happen. So here we are. And for anyone questioning why I'm working with him at all, that's literally it. That is it. I want him to do the things that his skill set will allow him to do, and here he is wanting to do them. I don't understand.
And I'm actually accomplishing things at a significant clip too.
Yeah, I will say, don't burn yourself out. We all,
I know.
we all have our things. You know, that's a whole
I'm all
other...
gas, no brakes. Ain't nothing gonna stop that.
I mean, a lack of caffeine might get in your way here and there. Yeah,
I keep a bottle. I keep a bottle of pills on my desk.
I ran out a couple days ago, and I need to go get more. I was fearing it coming into this episode, not knowing how it would go. You know, I needed my energy boost.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, before we move on to kind of the future stuff that we want to talk about, you know, this is a heavy subject about all of this. I want your opinion, Mac, on, you know, this idea of allowing people to work, honestly, against our enemies that were once, to a lesser extent, our enemies.
Yeah, no, there's definitely. I understand why it puts people in a difficult situation. Obviously, you know, people have done bad things in the past. You don't want to be associated with them. You don't know personally if they were actually reformed, if they really believe that what they're saying now, if they really believed what they were saying before. Like, there's reasons why I can see why people would be skeptical, and, you know, hearing things being spread by people that have a personal grudge, but people don't know that it's just the product of a personal grudge. So I can definitely see why people might not really embrace reform bad people. And I mean, depending on the specifics of the case, I happen to be a little knowledgeable on this particular instance because I knew some of the things that happened early on that were going on in the background, and I had some cultures. So I have empathy for kind of what happened in this case. There are cases.
Okay.
Saying, you know.
Can I cut you off for 1 second? Kurt, can you hear everything he's saying?
It's like he's in a fishbowl.
You're getting cut off for some reason on the audio a little there.
We're getting an echo from one person, and it's
I think
some
my
noise
mic
cancellation.
is canceling out your mic with noise cancellation. He's in the other room, but it was loud enough that it was echoing over here. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe turn up your mic a little, and
do that.
I will kill mine while you do that. All right, so you were saying basically that you see why it's an issue.
Yeah, I definitely understand why people have concerns on the topic and aren't going to necessarily just immediately embrace someone who's reformed. But at the same time, there is sort of a conceptual thing people have to consider at the social level, like what is the goal of trying to achieve any kind of social reform here? Like, if people have someplace to go, that someone that's reformed is accepted, at least kind of the other side, then you have some social movement that can occur. But if someone that's, you know, the other side is just irredeemable, you're no longer trying to persuade people that have been on that side. You're just saying they're evil. What's your end game here? How are you going to live in a society with them? You're trying to achieve a goal that's a change in society, in which case, to some extent, you have to be willing to acknowledge people that have done bad in the past.
Otherwise, you're just advocating for genocide of them, essentially.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're saying the only option here is a civil war at best.
There we go. So now everyone can hear me again. Look at all our audio issues. I have it all routed right now. But chat, tell me that you can hear me. Am I here? There we go. Okay. So, yeah. So remember, we're on week 2 of me trying to learn all this fun software, and I was literally surprised at the amount of like teenagers who have streams because this software is very complicated. There's 100 things to this software.
The reason why they're able to wrangle it so well is because they're teenagers and they have nothing better to do.
Right. They don't have all the other time constraints like paying rent. I don't know. But yeah. So we'll worry about Mac's mic a little. I would say lean in a little more to the mic or something. But
we'll see if this works better.
Yeah, you basically you need some echo cancellation or something.
Yeah, so we'll get that in place. We'll test that out tomorrow. But right now, what I want to say is, you were talking about the idea, Mac, that you create this divide where there's no way for them to come over, like I was talking about, and that's a problem. That leads us to, honestly, almost like the idea that Tim Pool and a bunch of other accelerationists have been pushing that, I would call accelerationism. It's a really bad argument in that, one, I don't believe the entirety of that argument that they're making, but I've had some of them actually explain it to me. And it's really strange, but it was explained to me in this way by a couple other people with unbelievably large podcasts who are on that side, when I literally wanted to understand, what the do you actually believe here? Like, I don't get it. And I was told that you have the right, which is mostly white and mostly heading in this farther right direction, and then you have the extreme far right, alt-right, and all these others who, at this point, most of us on the left just label Nazis, because what's the real difference between their version of fascism and white supremacy and the other? They lead to the same place, so fuck it, they're Nazis. But and it's always Punch a Nazi Day, by the way. It's always Punch a Nazi Day.
I haven't tweeted it yet today, but I can say right now, punch all Nazis.
Yes, but their argument is that you have that on one side, so you can imagine that side is majority white and majority racist. And then you have this side, and I'm talking about the fighters, the people in the streets who are actually going to protests, counter-protesting each other and all of that. I'm not talking about just the random, moms at home. I mean, they do fall on one of these sides, but they're not part of this conversation. This conversation is those people who do end up in the streets already, right now. Like, there were, a few thousand of them at their million MAGA march, which didn't get anywhere near a million. And, then the events here in Boston, like, we'll always have at most 50 on the right-wing side, and then, 1,000 lefties show up and drown them out, right? But of those people, the argument is you've got the right, and then on the left you've got a very accepting culture of people of color, of LGBTQ community plus, and you've got the allies of that community, and then you've got the white people who are just literally lefties, everyone from your standard just kind of centrist all the way to your anarchists,
I am amongst the old internet hate machine types. I am actually a statistical aberration, because I'm a cis white male. A lot of the old black hat assholes back then actually are nowadays. They are transgender, they are gay, they are people of color or immigrants, so on and so forth. And then a lot of them are now they are hardline anarchists or commies. And we're all in this together.
But so we've got these two sides of the fight now, right?
Yeah.
And the argument that I've been told by these people who are alt-right mouthpieces was that on the left, as a more accepting group of people who have now merged all these different cultures into one part of a fight, versus another side that is slowly congregating into one culture, basically white nationalism and, white supremacy. And you will end up with the white people becoming second class on the left because of their deference to or specifically the straight white males, becoming second class to the LGBTQ and the people of color communities, and then you will have them slowly feeling ostracized enough that when the right comes talking to them and trying to be nice and using civility as a weapon, they go over to the right simply because it's more accepting and they find friendship there, where they are being outcasted on the other side simply for being white males. And at the end of this argument they give me, their side is way larger and way stronger, and they crush the left, and then they win. And it's accelerationist theory. That in talking,
they're
to
united
people,
in their hate for everyone else.
for everyone, and in this accelerationist theory, they specifically are working towards making that happen. Their goal is to have that happen. It's not just theory for them that they're watching; it's what they want to happen. It's complete BS, as everyone in the chat is agreeing with. It's like total bullshit. None of that is real. I feel absolutely accepted locally here in all of my lefty circles. And it's insanity. And I am, again, also cis white male here, I mean, just, kind of who I am. But, it's just the strangest thing. So, that fight is going to happen, and I think those people who are those accelerationists will have to become targets of these types of operations and the more anonymous style of activity in the near future.
Indeed.
So, we're at about the hour mark. What I want to do is take a really quick minute and a half break here, go get myself some water, all that fun stuff, and we will be right back with you, chat.
Hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, so on and so forth. He needs to eat.
That, please. All right, so here comes the pause for a sec. There we go. All right, everyone. We are back from our little break there. Starting to get a feel for how this all works. I think at the hour mark, we're going to do that. Seems like the right move there. So we've talked about all of, that wonderful past. You've given your apologies. You've worked hard on a bunch of current projects. And there's a lot of people accepting of your work and what you're doing, and there's all kinds of chats out there that you're starting to get into that are working on other projects that are wanting your support, and we end up in this place where the news is now covering the work that you're doing, and that's great. I think
it is.
The go forward for you next is more work. You've created an environment where everyone is expecting a lot out of you, and we didn't do that to you. This isn't one of those where the world came at you and told you what we needed from you. This is one of those things where you created that environment.
Yes. Yes, I did.
So how do you feel about that? Are you ready for it?
Oh, I'm absolutely here for all of this shit.
I would like to address the chat there. Mr. Badass 700, it's all about the love around here, and you agreed to some chat rules, but I don't have a moderator bot set up right now. I'll do that next week or something, so you have fun in chat, because I don't care. But yeah, there'll be a mod bot next week that'll stop people from talking like that, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, why? Whatever. But yeah, so you've set up this environment. And
there's some people in the chat that I know that would probably love to moderate the chat. just throwing that out there. Hey, they are seasoned image board moderators. They know the score.
We could definitely probably use some help, so I don't have to try and moderate during. I don't have anyone.
Vassar right there. Vassar right there. The one that said, "Just let me do it." In fact, they're one of them. So I think you should make them a moderator. Go for it.
I don't know how.
You click the button. You click.
No, but I have to add them like on the back end or something, because when I select them in the chat and whatnot, it only lets me ban them or friend them. So yeah. Hey, we brought back snacks, by the way.
Yes, we did.
That was like the second question I asked of Kurt, and it was in the AMA, and surprisingly, there he was. Snacks came back for a moment. Yes. I mean, he's still
not only did Snacks come back, he made sure that he was the 420th upvote of my comment to you, which was extra fitting.
Yes. Yeah, that was great. So here we are. Let's go with this. We're in an environment now where the world is expecting quite a lot out of you because you have honestly set up that environment. Where do you go from here with that? How do you move on? It's not I don't think for you, I think you've been through this enough that it's not heavy. You're not sitting there caring that the world's now expecting a lot out of you. You're just ready to get shit done.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. My track record speaks for itself.
I mean, good and bad, right?
Yes. That doesn't matter what I set my mind to. Some of it was pure evil. Some of it was chaotic good. My track record speaks for itself.
Look at this. People in chat telling me what to do here. Oh my god.
Slash mod in their name. That sounds reasonable.
I'm gonna try it. Oh my god, I granted moderator privilege to someone. Look at me. It's like I know how to use computers, and almost like
just remember that is actually an IRC powered backend.
I know. It's that is another whole conversation. Like I am still I am a person who has been doing this so long that I was on IRC before the IRC2 client came out, which is the one that kind of was there when the internet really found IRC. So there were like 200 people who had ever been on IRC, and we're all on IRC. And then someone releases this stupid client that like makes it even easier for people to get on and bother us. I was very annoyed when IRC2 came out. Now there's like Slack and Discord and all these other things. I don't know. I'm an old fart when it comes to that stuff. But but what's next? I mean, do you have targets that you've already thought about? Do you have people that
Yes,
you are looking
and
at?
you know what? I'm going to go back to your earlier comments on OPSEC, and I'm going to say I ain't saying shit.
There you go. I was really hoping for that answer. I don't like prompting for answers like that, but like, there you go.
It was set up.
Yeah, I know I asked for it, but I didn't ask for it. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
So we're gonna end up. Oh yeah, as I'm wearing my DEF CON shirt there. 2011 DEF CON. I loved that one. That was a lot of fun.
I can imagine. That was a big year.
It was, right? Oh my God, those hallways were filled with some crazy people. And yeah, that was a really strange year. That was the year that out of nowhere, halfway through the conference, unannounced, one of the rooms opened up and suddenly there was a Backtrace security talk going on, and Backtrace got up on stage, and there's fucking Jennifer and all the others, just like Emic, up there on stage, and we're all like, wait, I guess it was smart of them not to announce this. And then, I did what I thought was the nicest thing I've ever done for another human being. And I've done my fair share of fun things in the world, but I'm sitting there in this Backtrace security talk with a bunch of Anons around me, right? And a couple of them really large guys, like football player-sized guys who were also just happened to be Anons. One of them who funnily flew straight to one of our old friends' houses in Florida to threaten him to remove some shit from a server, like that size guy. So they're all sitting with me, and I know that they hate this human being a lot. And this human being sits down next to me, thinking that we don't recognize him. And it's Aaron Barr. And he sits right next to me, good old Aaron Barr of HB Gary. And he looks at me with this look like, hey, guy, like he's nobody. And I look at him, and then I look forward, and I act like he's not there. Because there were 6 people sitting around us, including, random, super trolls, like fucking No and all these others, who were all just kind of sitting there in the row behind me, who would have just, I think he would have ended up outside on the ground, beat to near death, if I had said, hey, everyone, it's Aaron. And so I didn't. I figured I was being nice. Plus, I wanted to see what Jennifer was going to do on stage. And I really just wanted to see what Jennifer was going to do on stage here, so I didn't want to, ruin it. And then he goes online after this and starts talking all about, oh my God, I sat right next to Anons and they didn't recognize me. And I'm like, I should have just sicked them on him. I should have just...
Wow. That's some grandstanding right there. Holy shit.
Well, no, okay, so Top in the chat says something, and I got to tell you, I want to thank Brian Knappenberger, the director and editor of We Are Legion, the documentary, from the bottom of my heart for one thing, because he does an edit in that film where I call Aaron Barr a moron, and then he cuts to Aaron Barr with an look on his face and sound being made, and I want to thank him for giving me that clip, because that's still, I feel so happy about that. I have sent that to Aaron 1,000 times. I think it's great.
Knappenberger, I info dumped a whole lot of shit on him probably May, June as stuff was leading up to the Atlantic piece. I jumped into his DMs and we were going back and forth. I'm like, hey, look at all these archives I have. All this stuff that you covered in your documentary. Yeah, hi, hello. That was all my shit. Documentation. Yes, and he was just like, huh. Well, shit. But he I'm paraphrasing. He's actually a very reserved person. He would never cuss like that. But
no, he's a clean cut kind of a guy.
Yeah, it took probably me sending about 50 or 60 links on the Wayback Machine and screenshots and stuff before he actually started responding to me with a level of seriousness.
Yeah. Did he hint at anything about, with all this new information, we might make an extra video?
He mentioned he was working on some projects that might tangentially be useful to have me as a contact. I have no idea what's going on there. We'll see.
I've been loving his work, everything he did, really, from that one to the Internet's Own Boy on Aaron Swartz, to I've also been, really loving Alex Winter's documentary work. I mean, from covering, the Silk Road, Deep Web there, to the Panama Papers documentary. Like, there's a lot of good documentaries out there on that stuff. But
yeah, yes, I am getting a lot of sleep and rest. Like, I go until I pass out, but when I do, like, I haven't been sleeping this long and hard in a long time. Like, pretty much like 8 hours. It's gonna happen.
Right, but you're doing like 30 hours of intense work to get that 8 hours of like I can't move, I'm sleeping, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
but it's necessary. It's yes, it is. It's necessary work. Sometimes I actually like this chair. This chair is so comfortable. Like I will literally like wake up here just like this. Like
it looks like one of those office reclamations. Like, did you get that, or did you actually spend money on that thing? Because that looks like an expensive chair.
Or actually, this thing's a budget like $100 biddy from Canada Computers. I love this thing.
So it's the knockoff Aeron.
Yes, it's a knockoff, and it is a really good knockoff.
Nice. One of these days, I'll get myself one of those comfy gaming chairs. Right now, I've just got this.
They're not comfy. They're not comfy. No. No. We have a gaming chair here that has, unless you're getting like a full on, you're getting the top trim secret lab, whatever. Don't bother.
Oh, dude. I was on Twitch the other day setting up my stuff, and one of the just random streamers who I've ended up actually talking to, I go over to his channel, and he's sitting in a wooden kitchen chair from like an old wooden table. And there's a gaming chair off in the background sitting against his wall. And I, of course, went straight to the chat like, hey, why are you sitting in that hard wood piece of... And he's like, this is actually more comfortable than that chair I bought. So, yeah, you're probably right on that.
Yep.
Yeah, oh well. But
also, you're welcome for the promotion, Secret Lab. You can contact me later for compensation.
right. Oh, God. Yeah, so... Okay, so the go forward is there's all kinds of targets. People have brought up a lot of ideas that need to be on the future list. I think strong alt-right disinfo personalities all need to be on the list.
Yes.
And so they will be. There will be attention from many people on that. But,
I've already started just poking and jabbing at them wherever I can.
Of course.
They're going to grow to hate me very much.
I mean, one of the things that always blows my mind is I've actually listened to some of Ben Shapiro's podcasts when he covered topics where I wanted to see his take on it because I knew it would be like the most asinine take that there could be, and it's good to know that version of the take, right? And then I went and looked at the charts, and he's had the #2 trending podcast on iTunes podcast charts for solid over a year now without break.
Disgusting.
He gets that many listens. People like that need to be shut down. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, how is he such a threat? He's like 5 feet tall. Like literally, you can just walk up to him and push him over and be like, "Stop talking."
And like his arguments are anywhere between childish and just plain.
That's
the guy I gamut.
Every single time I like there's a set of videos that I like to watch whenever I feel just down and I need to really laugh. The one where he's talking about how the rising sea levels are not going to affect the housing market because like all the people that live there they're gonna sell their house and move. It's like, no, your house is gonna be under fucking water. What the
who's going to buy it?
Yeah, exactly. Like
fucking Aquaman. I love that video so much.
Yeah, I mean that whole when he busts through the wall, that's a great video. Yeah, so
also I just want to throw out the BBC interview with Ben Shapiro being interviewed by a conservative who he probably accused of being a leftist.
Oh my god.
It's wow. But I mean, our
and
version...
then there's the internal fighting. Like you have all of that crap with the Groiper army, and they're going and attacking their own because he has Jewish heritage. It's like the right just loves to eat themselves alive sometimes, and it's really funny to just sit back and watch, and then you just want to go and fuck them all up afterwards too.
Well, the other day, people in the chat mentioned Cassandra Fairbanks, and she tweeted out a wonderful tweet about people who talk publicly about U.S. politics but live in foreign countries countries and don't have any actual interest here and won't stop, you know, being assholes and should just shut up. And so I, of course, retweeted that straight at Miles Chong, you know, saying, but he could still comment in Malaysia, but sorry, Cassandra hates you.
Next time you want to dump on Ian Miles Cheong, just bring up how he had like ants all over his computer.
You know, it's just they are so good at infighting that I think that needs to be more weaponized. Personally, really, I mean that isn't just an important piece of that puzzle for me. I think. And
the shit that we're doing, the shit that's happening that we already covered earlier in the show of how our own is going and attacking me. What you need to do is you need to go and convince all of those assholes to just get at each other's throats. Like just go and psyop the fuck out of the right. They're really good at psyops. And a lot of people on the left think that they are above that. They feel dirty doing that kind of shit. But no, man, that's not how you beat them. The only way to beat them is by playing them at their own game. So go troll the ever-loving bejesus out of them. Go false flag. Go just literally have them at each other's throats and enjoy the chaos. That is how we're going to fuck these people up, realistically, end of the day.
And it really is something that for a long time has helped keep them sort of in check to some extent in America for a very long time. The white supremacist movement was plagued by the fact that they kept just self-destructing all of their groups every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. There's also a an actual like COINTELPRO argument to be made, or anytime any group or movement, doesn't matter what political alignment it is, anytime they start actually getting traction and going and enacting change in their manner, eventually they all self-destruct. And every single time it happens, there's always very peculiar activity going on around there. Realistically speaking, the powers that be don't want shit happening one way or the other, and they will do whatever the fuck they can to make sure that there is no progress made in either direction. And it's plain on its fucking face, and people need to stop eating that shit up.
100% agreed. I mean, the biggest thing you can tell from like the last election, besides, you know, Trump losing by millions of votes, same as he did last time, although bigger margin this time, you know, in the Electoral College being a horrible idea that needs to go away, is that the right really will just rally behind the guy that the people obviously seem to want, and then they will just do whatever they want while he's in power and get a lot done. And then the left will choose at the top level who they want and make everyone below rally behind him. It's like the exact opposite, right? So over on the right, you get a Trump because the people actually fell in line behind Trump and wanted him. And so the top of the right wing were just like, sure, I mean, you can have him as a figurehead. We're still going to do all of our stuff, but now he'll sign the paperwork for us. And then over on the left, you get a Biden this time because halfway through all of the work to decide who we were going to get, the people in power at the DNC decided we want Biden, and got people like Beto and all these others to drop out and put their voters behind Biden to defeat Bernie. And it's the exact opposite for the people in power there. You get one accepting the kind of, you know, people's version of a selection, but still knowing they can just control him. And you get the other, the top, choosing and forcing it on us. And either way, we still end up with those groups in the middle that made those two decisions actually controlling everything.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe for a minute that the Democrats represent me. I just believe they represent me 1% more than the Republicans do. However, it's, you know, that's it. That's all I give them. I think there's a growing progressive nature among the youth in this country.
So far, the kids, they look like they're doing all right for themselves. I'm kind of impressed with how well they're able to just scream and mobilize.
Yeah, there's a lot more children going to protest. There's a lot more people getting kind of radicalized in that way. And you know, one of the moments like with our kids here at our household that really kind of showed me that maybe the kids are starting to figure this stuff out at a younger age, which will be really good for us, is when my stepson in I believe it was second grade, he had to do an essay for Columbus Day. Every kid in his class had to write about Columbus Day. And without us knowing about it, he didn't tell us he had this essay to do. He just does it. And then we get a call from the school because he wrote an essay titled A Genocidal Maniac. And
wow.
And I'm sitting here smiling like, well, where did he get it wrong? And they're like, fine, if that's your standpoint, but I don't think we need in second grade to be talking to the other children about genocide.
Yes, you do.
And Columbus, I guess.
We had an interesting conversation about you shouldn't really be celebrating Columbus Day anyways. How about next year we do some indigenous people stuff? And they were generally on board with the idea of mixing in a little more of that, and it did lead to a little more of that, but not as much as I wanted. But it was interesting having that moment where we had no clue this was coming, and then the school calls us to tell us that this essay has been written. And I just, I saw that and I was like, that's exactly what I'm hoping comes out of the youth of today.
It may not be entirely representative of the generation, though.
No, it's the ones that are the loudest. You always notice them the most. But I mean, those K-pop stands, they are a force to be reckoned with. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. And unlike some of their equivalents from when we were all younger, they're a little more active in social issues than those groups were.
Yes.
I don't recall any big social issue push
from that
Well, I mean, that's just the way that the internet has progressed, where now you can have all of these these culture jamming, hashtag jamming, so on and so forth, counter-insurgency instances, for lack of a better term.
Something that made me happy today happened that is just so stupid and unrelated to anything really, but I randomly, while I'm like walking places like the store or something, will just throw on whatever new podcast. And there's a podcast that is relatively new that has like Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and Sean Haynes, like all these actor types, but they're all one podcast where they all interview people. And in this episode from a couple days ago, they had Paul McCartney on. And during this episode, they asked him about that time period when they were as famous as they were. Where it was just stupid levels of fame that Elvis was the only other human that ever went through it, right? And they asked him about bands of today and who he looks at today in that same vein. And instantly, Paul McCartney, this what is he, almost 80 now or something, says, "Oh, over in Korea, BTS. I love those guys." And he starts talking about BTS as if they're like the Beatles. And I was thinking that is absolutely a good analogy of it. They are that famous. They actually, of course, due to the size of our population compared to them, I think actually have possibly a larger audience size among the youth than even the Beatles did. And, the difference here being that BTS's BTS Army likes to get activated for causes. They like getting told, hey, you should go focus on something, and then millions of them show up. And this leads to that fun moment when we're all, interacting online, and suddenly BTS and 3 other K-pop stars retweet something from You're on Non-News. And then You're on Non-News goes from a little over 1.5 million subscribers or so to 7 million in followers on Twitch or on Twitter in 8 hours. All of the K-pop stands show up.
Oh, speaking of You're on News,
it is surprising.
Speaking of, the other day, You're on News and I had a little bit of fun where we brought out one of the old hits, and we kind of play acted a little feud going on back and forth, and a whole lot of really stupid right-wing idiots got rickrolled.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
That phone number was busy for about 6 hours.
Yeah, but yeah, that was absolutely hilarious. You know, I
Yeah.
like it when the old hits are brought back. There's a few that maybe don't need to be, but that one definitely can come back around every couple of years.
Yes.
You know, and I love, he actually, so I saw an interview, after, the Foo Fighters did a tour, and they were in, Japan, you know, doing a tour date, and for some reason it was a tour date where a bunch of bands were playing. It was not like a real festival type, but like there were like 6 bands, and, Rick Astley was standing off to the side of the stage. So of course Dave Grohl looks over there and is like, "Oh my God, that's Rick Astley," and invites him up on the stage. And Rick's like, and he finally gets him up on stage. And Rick is kind of acting weird. And Dave Grohl asks him, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "Well, I'm nervous. You're the Foo Fighters." And Dave Grohl's like, "You're Rick Astley." And, you know, and it goes back and forth a little. And then Dave says, "Well, can you sing one of like my old songs with me?" And he tells the band start playing, and the band starts playing "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and he just about starts when Dave looks at him with this look, and you know what's coming, and Rick just starts Rick-rolling the crowd, but to the backing beat of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" fading into "Never Gonna Give You Up," and afterward they did an interview, and it was just my favorite interview with him. Where he talked about like not actually being in control of the Rickroll, and the first time he learned about the Rickroll. And you can find this interview on YouTube. You should all watch it. It's freaking great. But he says that his daughter showed it to him, and they asked him what did he feel about it, and he looked right at his daughter and said, "Well, that's wonderful, but I don't think I need to like do anything here, right?" And she said, "What?" And he said, "Well, that's not about me. That's just like using me, and that's cool." And then he walked off. And like that was the right response for someone like him to have there, right? Like it helped a lot, you know. I thought it was great. I thought that was perfect. Of course,
yeah, that's good. That's a good attitude. It's like, oh, okay, I'm a punchline. Cool.
It's a healthy attitude to have. So that was kind of his response to the Rickrolling when it first started, and it was nice to hear that side of it. Like we knew he had obviously accepted it because he's Rickrolled a bunch of people now, but like at the Macy's Day Parade and shit that he's done, you know. But like just knowing what he thought the moment he first found out about it was great. I would say everyone should go find that Foo Fighters and Rick Astley thing on YouTube. It's funny. So the go forward now, you've got all kinds of ops. You've got stuff you're going to work on. You've got targets you're looking at. You've got more news articles coming out about the Parler data.
Yes.
You've still got a bit of fighting with the idiots who don't understand what's going on here. They got confused with the whole WordPress thing, and I would like to clear up one thing, because even some people in the chat who I love still believe something that I think isn't true, and that thing is Parler does not run WordPress. Parler had a WordPress site for its homepage early on, and we're talking like 2018 over on WP Engine for all of months. Thanks for that gift sub over there, by the way. But the thing that they did was they moved quickly to custom code, to then flat code, then to building their own platform in the background. So that WordPress file, that config file that showed like all the WP Engine constants and everything, was just that. It was an old file that for some reason was still lying around on their server when it shut down. It speaks not...
They leave everything lying around, actually. Parler has a Bugzilla installation that they haven't used in a number of months because they moved to Jira. Both of those, like bugzilla.parler.com is still online, and you can go and browse all of the old tickets that they left on there. There's nothing juicy, just letting you know in advance. But they have a GitLab instance that is exposed to the public internet. They have a Jira instance that is exposed to the public internet. They are incredibly bad at organizational security. A lot of this stuff is shit that they should have locked away behind an intranet that you can only access by their corporate VPN. Like these people don't know what
we don't know what that means. That's but what's interesting here is people talking about them being on WordPress and that being a sign of just how stupid they are. That's not a sign of how stupid they are. Just the fact that we still had a WordPress config file sitting on their server in a way that was accessible years later shows how stupid they are.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's a different version of how stupid they are, but they're still that stupid. It's the same level of what's wrong with you, but it's just a different what's wrong with you.
Yes, exactly. Also, I'm getting some good kicks out of the fact that the jester said that I was full of shit, and I literally got to rub it in his face, and he's blocking every single person that points out to him that he was wrong.
I mean, the jester has been a hilarious side story to the anonymous Trek for the last decade. You know,
I reached out an olive branch to him a couple of months ago, and then he tried to like role play like I was DDoSing his shitty Mastodon instance, and then Cloudflare banned my IP from his entire social network. Like I tried to open the email with my ban message, and because Cloudflare had my IP banned, like all the images were broken. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? He's a special one.
Well, the
Very
thing that
special.
I always had a problem with him early on, when he first showed up on the scene, yelling about Anonymous not getting anything done, and then yelling about all the other people. And then we're talking like a decade ago.
You DDoS 4chan, and he's like on Wikipedia is like known for DDoSing 4chan. Like, what the fuck? Seriously.
But here's the thing that he did that just killed me. And it was this. It was that he would post, here is a jihadi website that needs to go offline. And then his followers would like DDoS it for what they could. And it was a website where they were all real. Like, he was good at identifying these things, or his fans were, or whatever. I'm not going to take that from him. The problem was, no one had heard of these things. Like, if you were looking to be that kind of radical, if that was your mindset and you wanted to know where to go to find the latest jihadi materials and websites and forums, all you had to do was watch the Jester's feed, because none of his people could DDoS a site for more than 5 minutes off the internet. So he would advertise these URLs. They'd be down for the next 5 minutes, and then they'd go right back up. And so basically, he himself was just an advertising platform for the jihadi websites that he was supposedly fighting. And I tried to point this out to him a few times, and it was logic that didn't get through to him. He didn't understand what I was trying to say.
They're signal boosting terrorists, you fucking...
He didn't get it.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
and on top of that, and then this whole controversy where he was, claiming to attack a lot of shit, and then it just turns out that the domains were expiring, and it's like the number of accolades the guy has and all of the press and crap. It's like it's completely unearned. Like realistically speaking, like guy is sus, pretty much.
So there is an interesting question in the chat that is highlighted for you. And I think, I can respond to this one too, because while the mask was there, I kind of helped make the video and the flyer that brought 10,000 people to go buy the mask in a week.
We used it for the Fox 11 thing. Yeah. And realistically speaking, like it has nothing to do with V for Vendetta as a film. No, like the whole thing was an inside joke of an MS Paint guy. Yeah, fucking epic fail guy. He was literally a single gimmick poster where his entire thing was just going and just being a complete and utter failure, and he found the Guy Fawkes mask in a trash can.
Exactly, and I think it's hilarious. But the question about, buying a corporate thing, I will say that branding is a complex thing to get right. And an ominous kind of nature to that branding is hard to get right. And so having corporate tools do that work for you, I think is great. And one of the interesting side effects of using the mask that Warner Brothers owned, and then using the hell out of their IP, their trademarks, everything else, was that they made a little money off of it, sure. But because what we were doing was making them a little money, they never went after any of it. Nobody selling the shirts or fake masks or anything else, because it was all leading back to them making a little cash. So it was almost this mutual deal where we got a solid piece of IP I mean, fuck V for Vendetta. I personally liked the graphic novel, but like in the end, that wasn't the point. We got access to this IP that they generated, all this artwork that they made, and they didn't complain about it at all. When a lot of other companies would have, I think they wouldn't have wanted the association. So I just wrote that off as fair trade. There, you know.
I mean, realistically, the movie is about a terrorist.
Yeah, I mean that's how I saw it. I don't know how other people did.
The graphic novel is very explicit that he's a terrorist.
Yes.
I'm told somewhere way up in the chat we missed a question. I would say that's far enough up in the chat that I don't see it. So if you want to put that back, Dr. Abinway, please put it back there. So we can answer that one.
The Gavelbakken. Yeah. So this one probably confuses people. So there is a straw goat in a portion of the world where every Christmas they built a gigantic goat out of straw, and 420's Chan tradition is literally just that there's a Gavelbakken watch thread where we wait and see how many days it takes for it to be burned down by random civilians. Every year it gets more and more hilarious, like people going and trying to fly a drone to drop something flammable on it. Like it's gotten that ridiculous. The goat has actually managed to survive the last few years, amazingly. And I'm hoping that we're going to see flames again. I am not telling you to go out and commit an act of terrorism.
Yes.
But when it happens, it's always funny.
If it happens.
If it happens.
Yeah. I mean, however you want to word that. So in the chat there, Abinway there asks for your opinion on Jason Kenney.
I have no take on Jason Kenney right now. You can ask me that once I get a little more acquainted, because honestly that name does not ring any bells with me right now.
If anyone in the chat has a good link for Kurt to check that one out.
Oh, later. The Alberta premier. Oh, he's a fucking idiot.
There you go. Okay, fair enough. Right on it. There we go. No link needed. He's a fucking idiot. Yep. Yeah. So. And that is a perfect take. Okay. Good times. Yeah, we're having fun here. Does chat have any more questions? I mean, we went through the important part, the thing that I really wanted to get done today, we did in that first hour. Shoe on head is important.
I'm not putting a Sharpie in my pooper, don't ask.
I mean, the next thing you realize is the tutu, obviously. Adrian Chen style.
Yeah.
How better do you feel being in Canada and not the USA? There's a question for you.
I feel so much safer here. You realize that like I'm so cavalier with half the shit I do because I'm not in the States and I don't have to worry so much about certain house calls, so to speak. Doesn't mean that I can just do whatever the fuck I want, but it does give me a little bit more comfort. I don't touch domestic shit. Period. There's a good reason for that.
There's a bunch of other stuff in the chat here. So you were talking about the jester. What's the background on that situation? I mean, I would say this is just some random who most people had no clue about, who showed up with the skill level of your average script kiddie in the early 2010s and decided to be against Anonymous while fighting jihadis by signal boosting all of their websites. And for the longest time, he was against everything that our kind of type, if you will, was working on, and just arguing that things weren't getting done and all that fun stuff. Lately, though, it's been a little more interesting in that we find ourselves all angry at the same alt-right chuds and grifters and the Proud Boy types and all these other groups, and he's mad at all of them too. And so there's been some minor outreach attempts to maybe see if he wants to work on anything by people like Kurt, who gave him the knowledge branch, you know, was it like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago? And,
oh no, the first time was about 2 months ago.
Interaction. Yeah, I saw like the last interaction, but the response was less than good, because he's still just a fucking idiot. Personally, that's what I believe. I don't know what your take on it is. I mean, how do you kind of see how that all went down?
I don't know. My first interaction with him was just tweeting at him, being like "fuck Sabu," and he still jumped up my ass. So I mean, the guy can go fuck himself, really.
That is definitely a thing. Yeah, Unicorn Riot. Everyone should be following Unicorn Riot.
Yes, Unicorn Riot is absolutely fucking incredible, and I hope to be collaborating with them on some pieces in the future in regards to the QAnon situation.
Yes, we interact with them a lot.
Yes, we do. Behind the scenes, very good friends. I'm also working with Robert Evans and a few other people right now over at Bellingcat. We're going over the Jim Watkins 8kun mail server logs that I have procured. And there's going to be an investigative piece going up soon covering a lot of his connections and people that are heavily involved in the QAnon scene. So expect that to hit very soon. So we have a lot of very good connections and relationships with certain segments of the press. I just figured I'd throw that one out there.
You know, with Bellingcat, I fell for the early anti-Bellingcat propaganda about them possibly being an operation, possibly being funded by the wrong people due to that one grant that somehow came from Google or something on an investigative project. Or, you know, there was just all this mess out there that had a lot of people on our side believing that they were somehow the bad guys. And I truly regret my initial, take on all that, because I fell for it. I believed that they were the bad guys for a good solid year before I realized that I was told this by complete fucking morons. And once I finally accepted that the people I was talking to at that point were complete fucking morons, I reassessed the situation. And I'm really happy you're working with them on this stuff. Definitely.
Yeah.
Jeremy McWormy, I'm going to guess when you say expand on how they were opposed, that you mean when I was talking about the jester opposing the jihadists and that type of terrorist cell. And the thing that I personally believe is that every time he tweeted out one of their websites saying, take this website off the internet, all he was really doing was promoting them. Opposed to Anonymous. Okay, this is an interesting one, because he spent just every time Anonymous would announce an op or the news would cover an op that Anonymous had done, and Anonymous being whoever was using the name at that time, he would tweet out about it. He tweeted out all kinds of attacks on the various lulzsec people. It was just years of kind of like stupid hacker on hacker kind of fighting, out there in the public.
He didn't even know who I was a few months ago, and now here he is out here saying that I'm always been full of shit. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, he has no clue what he's talking about. He got a big following because of that whole dust up there. He made all kinds of promises to people that never came through in terms of things he would do. And in the end,
Xerxes.
The only things, yeah, exactly, Xerxes. I mean, come on. I mean, when that code dropped, it was like, did a 5-year-old write this? What is? Oh my God, this is. In fact, people even found like places where that code had been copied from and whatnot. It was horrible. But yeah, he was just in general. Well, I mean. For this wasn't true hacker on hacker action in terms of like he didn't have skill around him that could actually like truly like hack much. His skill level.
He screams COINTELPRO.
Yeah, his skill level at that point was more like the LOIC skill level. Like he could use other people's shit. And so he was using tools that anyone could download off the internet, tools that other people had created. And trying to like DDoS your sites off the internet, which he could only hold your site down for minutes at a time. So for the most part, whenever he did it and then announced that he had taken your site offline, he was actually advertising for your site to his whole audience. It was kind of like a good thing whenever he did it to you, as long as your web host was cool with it, because it was never big enough to be a real problem.
Yeah.
So when I say like hacker on hacker, it was more like kind of sort of script kiddie on hacker. And for the most part, the actual hackers who he would ever actually go after just sort of ignored him. Or yelled at him on Twitter.
The fact that he's fluffing up like the whole counter social thing, like he's literally trying to always fluff this shit up like, oh, we have all of this amazing tech and stuff. It's like, no, you took Mastodon, you installed an instance, and like your CSAM protection is literally just a single toggle switch in the Cloudflare control panel. Like you didn't even engineer like 90% of what you're advertising your so-called social network with. Oh my God. I don't understand how anyone still takes that man seriously.
Just for the newer people on chat here who didn't hear me say it last week, when I look that way, that's me reading the chat to kind of keep up with things. So, just so you know, I'm not just randomly like watching TV or something. I'm reading the chat, and yes, I would agree with Top Pocato there. That Jester is a shitlord, and while we all hate Weave, he was actually decent at that stuff. Not a decent human being. He was just a better hacker than Jester. I mean, hey, a better hacker than Jester. That's my claim.
Yes. That's factual. That is factual. Yes.
I mean, that's like, yeah, exactly. There we go with the low bar comments. So, well, I think honestly, Jeremy, the beef between Anonymous and Jester was really more Jester and Anonymous. He was, I think, honestly using it for clout building. Like he was chasing clout, building followers by starting these imaginary battles with Anonymous and calling Anonymous members not members, but you know what I mean.
He fucking LARPed. He LARPed that I was DDoSing his shit, and that's why he IP banned me from Counter Social. Like, he was literally trying to pretend like I had launched an attack on him. It was so goddamn funny and sad, really.
Yeah, and that's that. So someone up here, let's see, Stilkey, asked about the obsession with Watkins, and I mean that's pretty simple. I mean,
Jim Watkins runs 8kun and controls the Q drops. That's it. So, and also he's done some really fucked up shit over the years.
Oh, sure. I mean, Jim Watkins, for lack of a more detailed thing, which could be a whole episode on itself, at this point is who you can say this person is Q. He was not to begin with. To begin with, it was Paul Farber and Coleman Rogers over on 4chan selling t-shirts by saying stupid shit and getting people to buy t-shirts with it on it, and then realizing it was working and drawing in YouTubers, and then slowly it migrated its way to the point where people realized how powerful it was, and it ended up on 8chan, which now 8kun, and Jim Watkins, is now the guy who's in control of what's going on there, and to some extent Ron as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you hate QAnon, you
best security expert in the world, Ron Watkins. Look at my dapper hat.
Yes, the guy wearing the cowboy hat from the ranch who's never left his father's basement. I don't think that man's ever seen a horse in person, and it's mind blowing.
No. He lives in a red light district in Japan, for God's sake.
I know, right? Like, wow. I mean, and that is. I want to throw this out there. A guy administering a Chan who's like, I mean, that is just stereotypical. Like,
the fact that like an 8kun admin with as shady a history as he had, getting the bump from Donald Trump, like it's like what the fuck is even happening anymore? It's
like mind blowing. I won't go deep into this one thing, but in the chat as I scroll back, multiple people asked about the NRA op, and that is to say, Kurt's never mentioned anything about an NRA op publicly that I have found. However,
no, I haven't.
There is an NRA op, and it's far enough along that I will at least admit that it's far enough along that there's nothing they can do about it now. So it's just a large, powerful organization that takes a very long time to hurt. There will be a lot of news next year about that, and I can say that now because there's literally nothing they can do about it, and it's gonna be fucking hilarious. When it comes time, you will all be the first to know, because I will tell everyone what happened. They will not be happy people. But yes, that is all I can say, and that's all I will say. What the best part about it is, going back to OPSEC earlier, anyone who might have done anything that they shouldn't have, I am like 2 layers of humans away from. I have no idea who these people are, where they live, what their names are, even what their handles are. Like, so a very good job of compartmentalizing things has been done, and so there you go.
Mm-hmm. When's the Parler torrent dropping? Hey, look. How should I put this? So there have been more than enough people that have independently verified the data breach that I disclosed and is being reported on in the media. There have been enough people that are going and reproducing my work to verify it that I would probably expect any such data to get out there in a publicly viewable fashion relatively soon, considering how much that Parler is dragging their feet on the entire situation. It also doesn't help that I happened to drop it right before a long weekend, and I probably ruined a lot of people's holiday. That always feels good. But point being is that you would, if not for me, I would expect to see something fairly soon. It's still open. It's still out there. They haven't closed anything off. I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there.
So let's talk a little about ethical security research and ethical data release. These are new terms to how you do things compared to the past.
Oh yeah. Like this is high profile enough where I am doing it by the book because I'm pissing off a lot of very, very, very powerful and rich motherfuckers with what I am doing.
Not happy.
Yeah. So when there is that level of discretion required, I am wise enough to heed to that.
So ethical, data breaching and hacking and pen testing and all the other fun stuff, in terms of what the media think it means, and kind of what the general public sort of understands it as, or should understand it as, means
I have no ethics. Let's be clear here. I just know what not to do.
Exactly. I think most people, will agree, at least from your past, but let's see going forward what happens with you, right?
Yes.
But the ethical data handling after a breach, you don't want this to happen to a site you're on with your personal data where some right-wing hacker gets in and dumps all the data and all of your family's personal details are out there, and you have to deal with it because you're the tech guy, right? You're in our chat, you're probably the tech guy of your family. Even if you're not like hacker tech or programmer tech, you're still probably the one they ask when their phone ain't working or something else, right? So you don't want that. You also don't want all that personal identifying information of your family members out there. Same as they don't want on their side. Now, I don't actually care about them on that side. I fuck them all. But you have to sort of play by these rules to get big media to actually cover it properly. There's a lot of media out there that see this as more important because it hasn't leaked. And one of the interesting pieces going back to, like, say, the Stratfor hack that really upset the law in terms of their court cases, and what they said upset them, was the public release of data sets and the public sharing of data sets that in the end might have or might not have contained credit card data and all kinds of other stuff. And instead of covering the important nature of the data that was found that was actually important, like the things about, all the orange and velvet and red revolutions, like all those revolutions that like had colors, and then like there was some guy in the streets that was kind of leading the revolution in that country, and then he kind of, worked his way into power after the revolution. Like, it turns out that Stratfor helped run most of those, and those people in the streets who became the leader of those revolutions on the ground were actually Stratfor operatives. And all of the emails are in the Stratfor leak, and it's still out there public. You can go like search for like the Velvet Revolution, and you'll find the people who came into power after the revolution was over were actually Stratfor assets. Like, and that wasn't reported on by anyone of any major importance because they were reporting on the fact that credit cards were leaked. So the big point to the ethical release of data in terms of like what Kurt is doing right now, to me, is getting the media to cover the important parts of it instead of the non-important parts of it that are more sensationalized.
Yes, yeah. On top of that, we're dealing with a lot of Cambridge Analytica connections, financial ties with the Mercer family, and so on and so forth. My entire strategy with this is I want as many media eyes on it as possible. I want people investigating this shit and digging into those ties because realistically, that is the best possible move in this situation. There was a question that was asked about the perverted justice raid. So Chris Hansen probably knows my name, not for the reasons that you would think. We'll put it that way. So back in February 2007, early IHM stuff, we were going and raising hell for Hal Turner and shit at the time. And there was a kid whose name was Alex Worry. And
you will remember Alex from the Fox 11 story.
Yes, yeah. So basically, the whole thing with Alex Worry was he tried to get us to raid a female classmate of his that was rebuffing his advances. So we did what we usually did to little snotty shits like that, and we went and we made his life a living fucking hell. He then took it upon himself to make himself my number one nemesis. And in terms of the perverted justice thing, he false flagged a supposed planned attack to go and flood Lolicon on perverted justice's forums. And perverted justice turns around and then tries to make my life and my family's life a living hell. This went on for a few weeks. They were flooding my mother's phone. They were harassing her at work. And my mother was just telling them to go and fucking shove it. Bless her heart. And eventually this escalated to the point where they were going to start printing out informational flyers about these cyber gangsters called Anonymous. And they were going to put them throughout my neighborhood. And an NBC executive actually stepped in and said, hey, you should probably fucking stop that. Because there was a watchdog org called Corrupted Justice monitoring the situation and coordinating with me and basically playing defense.
They were and are cool.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some of this is actually on the Wayback Machine. Like they were emailing my mother back and forth and posting my mother's email responses and being like, the mother is a target. So the people behind the show To Catch a Predator were actually gigantic shitheads, to say the least.
Although I agreed with the mission that was stated for the reason the show existed, just the people actually running the show were complete pieces of shit too.
Yeah, the show was canceled. There was between that incident and somebody committing suicide after being featured on To Catch a Predator, the show was canned. So you can partially thank me for Chris Hansen no longer getting a paycheck.
It's a beautiful thing. So in the chat, Lumens here, if I'm pronouncing that right, I hope. Tell me if I'm not. Asks about Discord. There are a couple people here who have been following some of what I've done for a while, and maybe one of you remember Tony. Tony was with the old podcast. He came on a few times. He's been around a while. He's kind of my partner on these types of projects. He is building the Discord server this week. I thought it would be ready for today, but turns out, unlike IRC, Discord has 5 million options, moderation tools, connections to your Twitch, and a million other pieces, and he's still not done with it yet. It'll be done by the end of the weekend, and hopefully I think next Wednesday will be the first time that I announce it on the show, but I'll tweet out about it earlier next week so we can all start to get on it. So it'll be up. It'll be all kind of done up with all the channels and the roles and the welcome
and
messages.
I will be there to yell at you. I'll be there to yell at you if you start trying to talk about black hat shit, because you probably shouldn't do that on Discord.
Yeah,
definitely don't.
Yeah, it is not the secure place to talk about that stuff. But again, over there, you'll be around a few people who do, know about that type of stuff. And if you choose to go do some of that, they might lead you to other places where you can do that more securely. Discord will be more about, this type of fun stuff. But I'm hoping everyone comes and joins us there. I'm getting used to it. I still have all kinds of, like, being just an old school IRCer, like the amount of options it has and things you're supposed to do to make one that people like. It's mind blowing to me. I just what. I'm looking at like that Me 6 bot and saying, why does it do all of this, and why do people want it to do all of this? But turns out they do. So yeah, it'll be early next week. We'll have that up. I'll tweet it out. Everyone will be able to see it. Then let's see here. There was another one with the parlor breach. Let's see. This is parasitic friend. With the parlor breach, I want the Proud Boys exposed, Andy No exposed, Tim Pool maybe, and the dude from Trapped exposed. Yes, fuck Trapped. I mean, seriously, their music sucked anyways. Still does. But to clarify. But anyway, can there be a leak of just them? The issue there is that if this data is going to leak, when you're talking about like the ethical side of things, it just all needs to come out or it doesn't, right? Like just picking out specific people is usually pretty hard. Plus, there's quite honestly not much data on those people in there. As I understand the data from talking to not only Kurt but a few other people, it's lots of companies' data existed in this thing. The Business Insider article and a few others talk about that. And
it's not necessarily all Parler data, and that's like the key thing is that Parler was exposing a bunch of data, a personal data from properties that do not belong to them. That is the real issue here, and that ties back into the whole Cambridge Analytica shit. So don't take the Parler hack as, oh, I have all of these right-wing assholes DMs and their passwords and all that shit. Because fact is, I don't. At least not from the stuff that I've disclosed. It's complicated, to say the least.
Yeah, so it's all very complicated. So in the chat, people are asking, yes, one of the things that will be worked on this weekend actually is the connection between Twitch and Discord. So the subscribers get their own role, the followers get their own role. So everyone subscribe. I like food; it's nice to eat. So thank you. Thanks to everyone who has already the stream and last, and it's been wonderful. But we are working on the custom roles and the integration between Twitch and also having it like notify people when we go live, although we're kind of on a schedule, so that'll help. Top, I really appreciate the offer for the introduction to RebZ, but we actually are in some good chats with them. I'm good friends with one of the locals here in Boston, and I've introduced Kurt, and they get along really well. So I think we're all well connected there, but knowing that connection is there, if for some reason our good friend who we talked to there ends up getting hit by a bus, we'll come ask you for direct contact with the other person. But I think we're probably gold there.
Yeah, realistically, you can just refer them to go and contact me on Twitter or some other platform.
Let's see here. Let me scroll all the way to the bottom of the chat. It's fun kind of catching up with everyone. The idea is we are actually in a section of Twitch that says just chatting, so we should probably work in a little more of this interacting with people stuff. Let's see here. Speaking of food, I have heard of his favorite food. It's legendary. I've also heard the horrible fact that it was simulated. It wasn't real. So that needs to be fixed sometime in the future. But yeah. The Discord link will be available early next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. If you know how to search for those things, I'm sure it's already technically findable now, I guess. But again, I'm learning Discord. I'm going to spend a whole bunch of time Sunday kind of figuring out how to moderate it, how to interact with the bots and all the other fun stuff. I doubt people need the games and stuff like that, but it's built into some of the bots, so there'll be like trivia games and stupid stuff for people to do, because I guess Discord users want that stuff. So by all means, also next week when I announce the Discord chat, I would really appreciate just go beat it up and tell me what it's missing. Tell me what I didn't do or what I did wrong, because this will be my first Discord server where I really try and kind of pimp it out with all the features and all the bots and the automated shit. And I'm gonna miss things, and I'm probably gonna misconfigure at least one or two things, because there's 8,000 options in the tools I'm looking at. And yeah, if you break it horribly, by all means tell me. And if you somehow get yourself moderator status, keep it. Sounds like fun to me. It's a game. But yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. I don't think there's any more questions in chat that I missed, but if anyone has any that I missed that they want answered, by all means, put them back in there so we can address them. We're over the 2-hour mark, so this is kind of overtime here. You know, if anyone has anything else they want to talk about. I am really glad that, like, my camera is in front of Kurt on the screen, because I have to do this to see his screen right now. And I just don't need to be staring at that, you know.
What? It's just emulsified.
Shadowrun. I will start playing Shadowrun as soon as they start sponsoring. I mean, isn't that how that works? Isn't that how everyone else who plays Shadowrun on Twitch did it? Or YouTube? I mean, I've heard of this game, what, 10,000 times? Probably because I watched too many Mr. Beast videos, but, you know, whatever. Where would I send anyone who wants to help? Well, that, I mean, really depends on what you want to help with. If you just generally want to be a good human this winter, look at all the people talking about OpSafe Winter. It's an op that Anons and other online activists have been running since, I believe the first time I heard about it was about 2010. But like it really got named and became a more important kind of task for a lot of anonymous groups to do in like 2011, 2012. And you will never ever understand, just as someone who has a roof over their head and clothes in a drawer in a dresser that you get to wash, you will never understand how important during winter clean socks are to a homeless person. Like, if it's the dead of winter and it's snowing out and you bring them a fresh bag of like Hanes socks right from the store and a McDonald's bag full of food, they will think about which one they actually want right now. Like, it's literally like, don't do that to them. Hand them both, please. Don't be an asshole. But it's just kind of a way to kind of look at it and see how important like stuff like that is to them. And so, you know, what are the
give these and food to people.
You know, so one of the things we did here, like in Boston one of the years, is we literally got, there's like 20 of us, and we just spent the extra, you know, 20 bucks or so that we had on a couple things of socks. And in the end, we had like 600 actual packages of socks that, you know, random Hanes and everything else, and walked around downtown handing them all out to every homeless person we found. And stuff like that is like huge help. But if you want to get more involved in like the organized one, literally just go on Twitter and look up OpSafe Winter. You'll find everyone talking about it. And that would be the first place I say. If you want to, you know, help on more of, say, the stuff that Kurt's working on, honestly, start doing that type of stuff and then reaching out to people with, hey, here I am and I've done this, and see if you can get involved. Kurt is very easily reached on Twitter and responds because he doesn't know how to ignore people.
Oh, I do. Trust me. You don't even want to see half the shit that I get.
Your block list is large.
No, I don't block people. That's another funny thing. It's like, I might mute a conversation, but I don't block people because I enjoy seeing it. I enjoy seeing the discourse, for lack of a better way of putting it. It gives me life.
Yeah. So, Lumens here also asked you about the Nova Scotia incident where the kid got charged by police, or tried to get charged by police for manually changing a URL.
Another flagrant authority abuse of ill-defined computer crime laws.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely a horrible abuse of the crime laws. Like, you know, one of the things that is really important to understand about all the computer laws especially is that they were all written and enacted before the internet was a public thing. So when you look at like the CFAA, the big kind of computer law here in America, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, it's basic structure was put together in like 85. It was, you know, passed quickly after, and this is no joke, it was a reaction to the movie War Games, because that scared Reagan and a few other big Republicans watching that movie and how realistic it felt to them. And that's mind-boggling for one. Like, I guess, you know, get your news where you get it, but like, I just wish they had, instead of written that law wrong, secured the infrastructure. Maybe, you know, you had money on the table. Obviously, you did a lot of work on building this law and working with experts to put it together, and instead of fixing the infrastructure, you wrote a shitty law, one that, you know, is shitty. The big problem with these laws here and in America and in Canada and in Europe are, you know, how old they are. They don't speak to the current internet. So they're based more on the fact that, like, in the mid-'80s, nobody had access to remote systems other than the few users who were using BBSs, and some of them would connect up to Usenet or FidoNet, but that was a very small group of people. And then what we call internet now, then ARPANET, was very small, down to scientists, researchers, and basically people with only access to DARPA contracts here in America. And what was then true is no longer true. So, like, that leaves the law open to serious interpretation. So, like, when you look at Barrett Brown's case, almost none of what they tried to charge him with would have flown if that law was, you know, up to date. But the broad terminology of it, because of how old it was and the fact that it was pre-public internet, so it didn't address all the things that we do, is just, it needs to be rewritten from scratch. But I don't trust the people currently in power to do that with the public's best interest at heart. So
no,
we're kind of stuck in that catch-22 where the one that's there sucks, and I don't trust anyone who could to rewrite it.
And this people like Trump screaming about repealing Section 230 are not helping the situation right now.
Also, even if we trusted them to, like, their intentions, let's be realistic, they'd probably base the new laws off of a CSI episode they saw or something.
Yeah, you're going to need an organization like the EFF, like, intimately involved in drafting these new laws.
Yeah, and Fight for the Future. I think they're a great group to look at. You know, when you saw all the, like, big ACTA, net neutrality fights and all that other stuff, they were on the forefront of all of that. Like, if you've seen any of the big battles for online rules where you see a little thing up in the top corner that, like, is a little banner that pops up on hundreds of websites who adopt their banner, that's almost always Fight for the Future building those, and they're great people. So we would need them involved, and I doubt that the people in power would allow that. So I think we're kind of stuck there. You know, it's just a place where we are. It's too bad. Yeah, but we're running really late here. I'm going to catch up with a couple. Let's see, if you have any public links to share in the future, DM us. Yeah, so, you know, Kurt, one of the repeat questions that we didn't fully address because I addressed more the OpSafe Winter side of things was if people wanted to start fighting kind of our version of a fight versus the alt-right, how would they join in on that besides just DMing you on Twitter, right? Like, what would be their next steps?
Actually, you know what? It's people just, like, at me on Twitter, just new sock puppets. We like to call them chaos agents. Then just going and jumping in and being like, hey, I want to go and fuck them up too. What do you got? And we have some people that have been mapping out infrastructure maps of certain organizations that are involved, and you know, this, like, none of this is illegal stuff to share. Right. So we just go and we send them some of these infrastructure maps, and they just go off in their own direction and get to it. And if they find something interesting, obviously, you know, some information is shared. Again, all of this is actual, like, legal research. There's no laws being broken. And that's a good starting point for a lot of this. So, I mean, don't be afraid to just publicly tag me on Twitter and be like, hey, I might want to do something, or I might want to help with something. What's going on? Because there's a lot of processes. There's a lot of legal ones, a lot of there's no illegal ones.
Yeah, well, you know, and the one thing
you know what I mean.
Yeah, but the one thing that I would say to add on to that, which that's all great, is follow a bunch of the anti-fascist accounts online. Like Anti-Fasc Gordon is a good example, and they will put out pictures of people every now and then that are right wingers and say, we don't know who this person is, but they did this and they need to be doxxed. Spreading that stuff around is helpful. Doxing them because you actually know who that person is, very helpful. because that
don't
leads
fail
to,
docs. That fucks up people's lives.
Yeah,
Just be very
don't fake
fucking
it.
careful. I don't
Sure.
be very 100%. That's why one of the reasons why I don't fuck around with doxing unless like I literally have done shitloads of research and I'm 100% on it. And that's a process that could take hours to days. Just
It is.
Do not fuck up someone's life just because you thought they were someone else.
So when these people have verified docs, like, you know, send things to people like them in DM. Don't just post them publicly, because they have lots of ways of verifying data too. They've been in these games a long time, especially some of the bigger, larger Antifa type accounts. And those accounts will also tweet out a lot of times, like daily, here's another far-right extremist who has done X, Y, and Z, and here's their employer. And then, you know, the job is to get them to lose their job. Just taking part in those, literally causing a right-winger to lose their job because of the hate they're spouting online, can sometimes cut down on the amount of hate that is being spouted online. So I would say, you know,
it's an extension of deplatforming. Like, realistically, like, you're taking away their ability to continue doing what the fuck they're doing, and maybe give them a reality check.
Yeah, thanks everyone in chat, by the way. Like, I love that stuff. You know, thanks for all the love in the chat there. I'm feeling it here. We are definitely going to keep going. We will be back on Monday. If everyone's kind of feeling it now, we're well over 2 hours, and I think the stream is getting close to ready to go. Unless, yeah, see, there's gonna be a few of you, Jeremy, who just want us to keep talking for another hour. Yeah, 4 hour stream. I don't have it in me. I wish I did, but I had a long day already. Maybe if we start earlier, maybe we'll do like once a month or something where we do the 4 hour one, but I gotta prep for that a little more.
Yeah. I would want to go and do something fancy for that too. Like maybe set up some more scene configurations and so on and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of room to grow.
There is. We're learning as we go here too. I mean, I think we're doing a lot better on the interactions with chat this time than we did the last few. I'm starting to learn to follow along. I think as chat grows, that'll be important, and probably having a moderator flagging stuff for us will be important. One
thing that is probably going to be needed is, since these are getting archived and uploaded to YouTube, it would probably behoove possibly to have chat show up in the video. You know, there's a lot of these
right there. I'm learning that the camera's backwards from where I am, so to point in the right direction now.
All right.
But yeah, so the chat shows up. You know,
I'm not seeing that on my end. Because my window is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. and funny enough, with our War Games chat, he's actually seeing me with the War Games NORAD behind me instead of the "This is fine" meme, which is what's actually behind me right now. So before we close this thing down, does anyone have any final questions here? Yes or no? I'm gonna be quick about this one. All right, everyone. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it a night. We're calling this one. Kurt, that was great. I think we got a lot done here. I hope for the people at least who are paying attention and actually care. You know, it's important to understand your apology for your past transgressions and what you want to do going forward. And the fact that we need to provide space for that to happen. Otherwise, we're just going to leave people on the wrong side of things, and that just only strengthens the enemy. So I'm glad you're fighting the fight that I want to see fought at this point. I hope everyone else is too, other than the few detractors that are just working on, of course, their 10-year-old grudges. You know, I honestly don't know some of the stuff that people are saying in chat about F12 and anti-fashion and all that, but I will do some research into that. And if anyone wants to connect with me on any other platform here and send me some proof of any of those claims, I will be happy to hear them and possibly talk about them on stream once I've seen that proof. For obvious reasons, you guys know just seeing it in chat isn't proof enough on some of these types of claims. But by all means, you know, give me more info. I love getting better at this, and I love better sorting out who I actually recommend. But yes, all right, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, and thank you for all of the love that is coming through. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Guys.
will make sure that I get my rest and so on and so forth and take care of
Yes.
myself.
All right. So here we go with the ending stream. Good night, everyone.